All right, Jeri Shanteau, how you doing? We are live.
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate this. This is kind of a conversation that is a long time coming for me. I've seen this conversation coming for the past couple of months. In a way, I've kind of avoided it. I have spoken to Tim Hinchy, who is the president and CEO of USA Swimming, and kind of hit him with a question in regards to this whole conversation, and we'll play his answer in a minute. But really, it wasn't until I saw your email that went out, probably within the last week, where you were calling to action people within the swimming community. Can you just tell me about that email that went out and the impact that that's had since you sent it out?
Yeah. I, in the last few weeks, as we all have within the swimming community, been affected by the newness in which our sport is starting to unfold. And I, a few weeks ago, started getting frustrated, started having conversations with head swimming coaches all over the country that are my friends and wives of coaches and current athletes and former athletes. And I kept asking, okay, great. What's happening? What are we going to do about this? Okay, we're not going to stand for this, right? We're going to make sure that the women who are currently competing are not going to lose out this year, right? And I kept getting the same answer. Nope. I think we're just going to watch this unfold. I think we're just going to watch this unfold. And it was really upsetting to me. And thankfully, through kind of divine intervention, I became aligned with Save Women's Sports and Women's Sport Policy Group. And in a very quick amount of time, have tried to become educated on this issue and told them I would do whatever I could to help move the needle so that women are no longer discriminated against, specifically in sport and also thereafter. So I made sure to send out a personal email, just letting my friends, family, and community know what this issue is, what the root of it is, why it is so important. And my feedback personally has been incredibly positive, has been a warm welcome of thank you for speaking up. And that there are plenty of us that don't get to and can't because of a culture that we live in, that our livelihoods could be ruined. We may not be hired in the future if I do. And I feel grateful that I am in a place that I can say something. I have empathy for those who can't. And I'm just doing the best I can to help spread the word, encourage others to say something in a way that they feel comfortable with, and help expose what is really going on here, which is an injustice done to women.
I appreciate that, and your email had an impact on me in making me realize that I had a responsibility. Let's say, I have a podcast and I talk about swimming, and this is the biggest issue of the year. And I have a podcast where I talk to all the best coaches, all the best athletes. I talk to administrators, I talk to leaders, CEOs. And for me to avoid this topic, I felt like I was doing an injustice to myself, to my podcast, to the people that watch the podcast. I felt like I was avoiding something, and I don't even know if I have an established answer on this. I'll tell you how I feel, and I wrote down some quotes of people, Jeri, people that I've reached out to in the last couple of days, and I asked them if they would care to comment on this. And I'll read you a couple of quotes. And this is kind of the general consensus of how people feel in our community right now. One person said, "I wouldn't touch this with the barge pole. I need more info, as I've heard some very reputable people talk about both sides of the argument. I'm such a huge advocate for inclusivity, but there are just no winners on this issue." That's what one person said. And I can understand that. Here's what another person said: "I'd want to speak to a few experts before making my public opinion known so that I'm armed with the right science to back up my opinion." Another person said, "No, I can't comment on this because of my job. and someone else said, I'm not going to comment on this until I retire. You know, so like there's a general fear amongst the swimming community to say anything. And I feel the same way. Can you understand that?
I can. In general, that's the society we live in today. However, there are certain people that do have the ability to speak up, like myself, who can say something. I respect some of those quotes that people said, I need more information. I'd like more science. That's the entire point of me speaking out in general. Good. Go get educated. Go be informed, because one day we are going to be voting on this. And when we do, you need to have a solid foundation of information so that you can vote properly and feel good about what that vote is for yourself. And right now, I think that we had no idea that the social gender issue was going to bleed into sports. And right now, we have policies in place and rules in place that we did not know years ago would actually end up discriminating against women.
Right.
They do currently. And we need our institutions, our universities, our conferences. Where is the USOC? Where is USA Swimming? Where is the IOC? Where's the Ivy League? Where's the NCAA? They're sitting idly by. They will not answer to any media at this point. And they are going to allow women who have worked incredibly hard their whole lives, let alone this season, lose out on opportunity, titles, and livelihood opportunity thereafter. And they're okay with that. And we're going to just say, okay, we'll wait for you to do something. And it breaks my heart that I'm only removed 15 years from this sport, only 15, which in some ways makes me feel old, and in others, it's absolutely nothing. And I cannot believe I'm going to go to NCAAs in March and know that these women do not have the exact same fair opportunity I was given. And so I just feel like it's in whatever we can do, the women that came before me, that fought for me to have equal opportunity in sport, I have to try and do that as well. I don't expect anybody to make a decision based on this without being educated. And I hope that people do.
Well, we spoke on the phone earlier, Jeri, and you asked me the question, why would I want to talk to you? And there's two main reasons why I wanted to talk to you specifically. First of all, the email that you put out, it wasn't so much that you had an opinion, because everybody has an opinion. And I told you this, it's because you're associated with some groups that are actually trying to change some laws, which is interesting to me. You know, you're part of the organizations or associated with organizations like SaveWomenSports.com and WomenSportsPolicy.org. So you're associated with those two organizations who are both, it seems like, trying to change the laws of how this whole subject is going to move forward, you know, because right now, transgender women under a certain specific requirement can compete at the NCAA level.
Yes.
The other reason why I wanted to speak to you is because we know each other. We do. You know, we go back. We didn't actually compete with each other, but we competed for the same team. We both swam for Auburn University. We both swam under David Marsh. We've both known each other for many years. So I feel comfortable with you. I've known that you're a very intelligent woman. I know that you're a very passionate woman. I know that you have children of your own. I know that you're a national champion. I know that you're qualified in so many different ways to speak on this issue. So for me, I was very comfortable with that as well. So they were the two main reasons why I wanted to talk to you specifically and kind of just break the ice on this conversation. And remember, everybody that's listening out there, this is just a conversation. That's all this is. We want more conversation. And that's why we're having this one, is because we want people to be able to speak. Right now, everybody's talking and they're afraid to speak publicly, but there should be a public, open conversation. It shouldn't be trying to alienate anybody or insult anybody. We're certainly not against Leah Thomas. I'm not against Leah Thomas in any way. And I know privately I've spoken to you, you feel the same way. That's not the issue here. So specifically, what is the issue for you then, Jeri?
Well, I appreciate you bringing that to light. I think it is really important. When I did Fox News, you're only given so many minutes on live national television to get
Right.
your point across. But something that I think is really important for me to say is that Leah Thomas is not doing anything wrong. She is well within her rights to be competing. And anybody who's making this about Leah Thomas, um, that hurts my heart. That makes me sad. This is not at all why I'm speaking out. I am speaking out because institutionally, we have got to create rules, guidelines, and boundaries that while we allow and figure out how trans athletes can compete, we cannot at the same time be willing to sacrifice other women in sports. That is 100% why I feel I need to say something, why I feel very clear and empowered on this topic. I want to read something our coach, David Marsh, sent me earlier today, and I really appreciated reading this quote. Tolerance is not approving an opinion you do not hold. It's about treating the person who is saying what you can powerfully disagree with respect, humility, and love. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really important to remember around this topic. This is a sensitive topic. It is socially a difficult topic. But I think if we can uphold the fact that this is not trying to take away from trans women or women, but right this moment, what we have in place is willing to sacrifice women in sport, and it will bleed out into other facets of life as well. And if we are not careful, women in general will become obsolete. The word woman will become obsolete. And that is disheartening for me. I do not want to feel a loss in that way, while also trying to give light to trans athletes. I don't think we need to lose as well.
Well said, and I appreciate your opinion there. Here's what I know about myself as well. I'm a single father with two young girls, twin girls who are upstairs right now, 13-year-old twin girls. So this is an issue that is going to affect me for sure. I have to have an opinion on this because I got these girls upstairs that I'm going to have to, speak to and speak with about these issues. So this is certainly something that is there. I do want to, Nate, my producer's in the background right now. Nate, I want to get you to play the clip of Tim Hinchy, who is the CEO and president of USA Swimming. I want to hear his answer on the question that I asked him. Biggest news in the world of swimming right now, I guess, is Leah Thomas and the situation with, her being transgender and performing at the collegiate level and swimming really fast times. What's the stance on this with USA Swimming?
Well, currently she's not a member of USA Swimming and hasn't been for more than 2 years. So as of right now, again, that situation is not technically in our remit today. But clearly, if she continues to swim well, and let's say she gets an American record, well, right, then we're going to need to get involved, right, to talk about that. Currently, right now, the way we work at an elite level is we defer to the IOC's language and mandate as it pertains to transgender athletes, and then they defer to FINA. So right now, it's in FINA's quarters first and foremost. But I can tell you that talking to them this week, it'll be on the agenda next week, and we will be meeting with that group. They're going to go out and get the best possible, I think, subject matter experts, medical experts, and have some real conversations, because this is an important topic for all of us to address, and we can't wait on it.
Yeah, I agree on that. And look, I've stayed away from it myself. First of all, I feel for her, honestly, I do. But at the same time, I understand the heat, like you swim that fast, you're gonna have a divide, and so there's certainly that. And I think, look, she she is the first, but I don't think she's going to be the last. So it's certainly an issue that we're going to have to look to in the future for sure. So the fact that you are looking at it and going to address it is something that I think is certainly necessary.
Well, and not only that, we, at least from a USA Swimming perspective, have a tremendous goal of being as inclusive as possible, right? And we pride ourselves in trying to be at the highest standard of that in everything that we do. So there's no question we need to have a voice in this, and for us to pretend like we don't would be foolish.
So you listen to that response, Jeri. What do you think about that?
Well, 2 different times, Mr. Hinchy used the word currently. Currently, she is not a member, and currently, she is not in our arena. While I understand that to be factual, it is negligent and irresponsible that response did not include, but we are preparing for this to happen. Where is the proactive nature of USA Swimming right now? You know this is going to be an issue, and it's a complete pass the buck answer to me when currently she is not a member and currently she is not in our arena, and we're going to defer to IOC, who then defers again to FINA. Again, we've just passed the buck another 2 times. When is somebody in an institution, in a place of power like Mr. Hinchy is, going to say, you know what, I'm going to stand up? Because he also ends with saying, our goal is being inclusive. Well, right now, do you not see that some of the powers at play and what we have working for us is not including all women? So to me, I'm incredibly personally disappointed in that answer. And I think that we all should be. And for other institutions, governing bodies, to sit around and watch this happen while we keep waiting and deferring, I would have loved him to go, you know what? I'm in a place of power and position. And right now I can see that this is eliminating some female athletes while a male's body is competing against them. They will lose out currently. We've got to be proactive to figure out the lane in which we are going to figure out for women to compete in a fair platform. And I'm taking a stance on this, and I am actively doing something. And that was not even nowhere close to what his answer was. And I'm disappointed. I've got an 8-year-old daughter who is registered with USA Swimming now. So I seriously hope that we've got a better answer very soon.
Well, listen, I think and I believe this to be true, Jeri, that they are working harder in the background, maybe more so than they are projecting in the foreground, kind of, telling everybody there is, I believe, work going on in the background for sure.
I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. Come on. You've got a podcast to where you are a man who can sit with 2 daughters and you can hold his feet to the fire.
Yeah.
We can believe they're doing something privately, but we've got to hold people accountable.
You're right. I mean, you're right.
I appreciate you saying that. And great, they're doing something behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. What does that do for the women that are competing now, that have busted their ass for the last 20 years, 18 years, and then they're going to go up and they're going to stand behind the blocks, and it's not fair.
You're right. Jeri, there's only one thing I know about myself in life that I'm really good at. I'm a complete nincompoop idiot in many facets of life. I'm a failure in many facets, but I am very successful in one area, and that is in the area of excellence in swimming. I'm a professional swimmer. I'm a professional coach. I understand swimming at the highest level. That's all I know in life. And I can tell you this, her times are ridiculous. I mean, to transition from where she was to where she is now, there just hasn't been enough time. And the times that she's putting up in season, competing against women who are just getting shellacked. I mean, they're getting destroyed in the pool. I mean, it really is not fair. The times she's putting up are just not fair. And here's what I'll say. I watched the NCAA. I went to the NCAA website yesterday, and they have a video out. And you can go to it. Go to ncaa.com and you'll see this video on competitive fairness and equity. It's a video. And there was a lady that spoke, LaGwen Durden, the director of Sports Science Institute of the NCAA. And here's a direct quote. This is at the 11-minute mark, 11 minutes and 30 seconds of the video. So you can fast forward 11 minutes and 30 seconds. This is what the director of the Sports Science Institute of the NCAA said. And they're allowing Leah to compete at the NCAA. This is what she said, direct quote. This is definitely a complex issue. One reason why it's so challenging is because the science and / medical community really hasn't reached a consensus on testosterone threshold. They haven't reached a consensus on testosterone threshold. We don't have a definitive answer on that. This is what the director is saying of the NCAA. We don't have a definitive answer on that. If there is a threshold, what should the threshold be? And yet here we are allowing Leah, who is under all the rules of the NCAA, doing the right thing. We're allowing her to compete against women and just destroying women. And she's specifically saying here in this direct quote on the video that anyone could go and watch, they don't know. They don't have the answers. So that, to me, I'm like, what is going on here? How is this allowed?
I have no idea. That is exactly why we are in the position we're in. Nobody has really questioned this. We absolutely need an informed medical board backing the decisions that's going to be made next, helping us with the guidelines, policies, laws that we put into place for this. This is not just about sport, too. This is about the privacy and the safety for women as well. There is so much more at stake here than just sport. But sport is opening our eyes to this social gender issue, and it does not have a place in sport. It may have a place in other arenas, and I respect that. And I appreciate you bringing up Leah's times. Again, in my opinion, this is not about Leah. This could be anybody, and I wish her well. This happens to be at the sacrifice of women right now. And the quote that you just read from the NCAA is so wildly sad that we're not really sure. We don't have a consensus yet. So in the meantime, we're totally fine with discriminating women and taking away their opportunity and their fairness in sport. And we're going to sit around, and while so many hundreds of women lose out, we're going to figure this out.
And here's another part of the quote that I didn't read. The last part of the quote that I didn't read is, the lack of research is another issue. She specifically said that the lack of research is another issue. They don't even have the research out there, or the extent of the research to make a qualified decision on when an athlete should be able to compete based on the testosterone threshold. The lack of research is another issue. And then the NCAA has a transgender policy video, okay? And the number one thing on the transgender policy video is competitive fairness. It doesn't seem like it's competitively fair for all the rest of the women that are competing against some of the transgender athletes. And I believe there was a transgender athlete that won Division II NCAA high jump last year. So there are other transgender athletes competing in other sports is basically what I'm saying.
This has been happening for a while, and my heart breaks for those athletes that nobody stood up and did something for them at that time. So I'm very sad about that. And unfortunately, it takes what is happening in this moment to shed some light on this topic and how real it is. And I'm going to continue to say and make my point that feels right to me about this. Please educate yourself. I'm doing the best I can to educate myself, to enact laws on the state level, as right now, federally, it's not going to be an option. That at the state level, we make sure that sex identity will overrule gender identity. And understanding what the difference is and how that will trickle down and how that will affect young women everywhere is incredibly important, so that you can, when this does matter, and it will matter at a local level, at a state level, at just an athletic level within your schools, know more so that you can properly vote on this, knowing that what we know now, ooh, yikes, this is taking away from women. At the current moment, if things don't change, we are marginalizing women. We are discriminating against them currently in sport. If this stands and continues in this direction, this will bleed out in all other facets of life, and we will not have women. That's truly the scary part for me, where we just become irrelevant. And I think we really need to just slow down for one moment, not make this personal and ugly. I am trying so very hard to make it clear that that is not what I'm trying to do, nor have any intention to, but to shed light on the fact that I think we got a little carried away. We didn't realize where our laws and guidelines were setting us up for this kind of discrimination against women. So we've got to act now and act fast, because those who are losing out live in a culture where they cannot speak up and they cannot fight for themselves. And we have to call on the people in power who have the ability to change things, that they do so, and they do so quickly.
A lot of people in our comment section. Carlos is a former swimmer here and NCAA champion himself. But I'm willing to talk to anybody, Carlos. I'm willing to listen to all the different opinions. I talk to all the different opinions privately, so I'm certainly able to do that publicly as well. Is there anyone on here who does feel a certain way and wants to come on? Jeri's certainly giving her opinion, and I'm open to many different opinions, and the conversation being open for sure. So let's continue that conversation. Jeri, I know you and I wanted to keep this to about 30 minutes. I'm completely fine with that as well. I think we've, stated everything that we needed to state. People can go to the NCAA website and get educated in terms of what the NCAA is putting out there. I know that you've got your own websites in terms of the email that you put out. Can you just mention those websites for people?
Yeah, it's savewomensports.com, and it is womensportpolicy.org, which is Women's Sport Policy Working Group. I'd actually like to read something that's on their website that is really important. We reject both the effort to exclude trans girls and trans women from girls and women's sport, and the effort to disadvantage females by forcing them to compete against some trans athletes with male sex-linked physical advantage. There is a middle way. And I think that is a really important thing to remember as we continue to move forward and we continue to have this conversation. That sentence right there is what I continue to remind myself of, and why I'm doing this. We cannot let females be at the disadvantage of this conversation, and at the sport level, at the livelihood level, and currently they are.
Right. Jeri, just so everyone knows, I've put those websites up in the comments section. So the savewomensports.com is up there. The womensportspolicy.org is up there. You can go to those. Listen, Jeri, there's not many people who have been willing to kind of put themselves out there and talk about these issues. I thank you for doing it. Like I said, you're completely qualified as far as I'm concerned in terms of who you are and what I know about you. And there are many other people who, whether you think you're qualified or not, just be part of the conversation. There are many people having the conversation behind closed doors. Many people are fearful. I was very fearful of this conversation alone. I really don't know why. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have any reason to feel like I'm not representing anyone. This is my
I don't think this needs to be such a fearful conversation.
Right.
I think if you do a little digging and become educated, and to the best as you can, and continue to, that's all I'm trying to do. I am clearly no expert. I'm just doing the best I can by learning as much as I can right now. But it's very evident that currently women are losing out. And We need to stop having these conversations privately. We can be kind about it. We can be thoughtful in our words. There does not have to be anything other than that happening. And I feel grateful that while this has been obviously a little bit of a whirlwind and trying to figure out what my stance is on this and to be eloquent and to be educated and to be a good representative for this conversation, we all can be in some way, shape, or form. If that needs to be anonymous, that is perfectly fine. If that is helping at a state level, if that is writing your local senator, if that is having the conversation with other coaches and trying to understand maybe what you can be doing in your athletic world, there doesn't need to be so much fear around this. I think that we live in a culture where anything that anybody says can be seen as offensive. And we need to understand that right now, worrying about being offensive is far less concerning than women being erased from sport.
Well, listen, well said. I hope I made up for any lack of, questioning that I should have hit Tim with this podcast. So I appreciate you being on here. Listen, I've been freaking out about this for the past 24 hours. So I'm glad we kind of got it done and dusted, but we started the conversation. Hopefully it'll continue.
Yeah.
There's many more conversations to have. There's many more people to speak out. We've seen a couple of people like Dave Salo, who has been influenced by your email, speak out.
I don't know who Erica Brown is, but she is a hero and she is doing her thing. And anybody that can start to feel empowered and comfortable to say something is going to help move the needle in this cause.
Yeah. And listen, if you feel the opposite, if you feel differently, then please talk about that too. Let's have a conversation. So thank you for this, Jeri. Appreciate it. God bless the family. Take care. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you, Brett.
Take care.